Emotional self-control over emotional explanation is the quiet shift that changes how people respond to you. Most women are taught that if someone misunderstands them, the solution is to explain more. If someone pulls away, the answer is to talk it through. If someone disrespects them, the fix is to clarify intentions and pain. But explanation, when it comes from emotion, rarely creates respect. It creates access. It teaches people that if they apply pressure, you will open yourself up, justify yourself, and reveal more than you should. Emotional self-control, on the other hand, changes the power dynamic without a single confrontation. When you explain yourself emotionally, you are trying to be understood. When you control yourself emotionally, you're deciding whether understanding is even required. Respect grows when people realize they do not have unlimited access to your inner world. The woman who feels everything but reveals selectively is the woman people treat carefully, not because she is cold, but because she is measured. Not because she is distant, but because she is grounded. Her emotions are not hidden, they are protected. Emotional self-control does not mean suppression. It does not mean pretending you are unaffected. It means you do not let your emotions lead your behavior in moments where composure matters more than expression. You can feel hurt and still remain calm. You can feel disappointed and still choose silence. You can feel angry and still decide not to explain yourself to someone who has not earned clarity. This is where respect begins to form, because people sense that your reactions are intentional, not automatic. When someone says something dismissive and you rush to explain why it hurt you, you're placing your emotional state in their hands. You are asking them to validate it, understand it, or fix it. When instead you pause, respond briefly, or disengage, you signal that your emotional balance does not depend on their awareness. That signal is powerful. It tells people you are self-led. It tells them you are not easily destabilized. It tells them their words do not control your center. The world treats emotionally reactive people as predictable. Predictability reduces respect. When people know exactly how to provoke a response, they stop being careful. Emotional self-control removes that predictability. It introduces uncertainty in the best way. People do not know how far they can go. They do not know how far they can go. They do not know what you will tolerate. They do not know what access they still have. That uncertainty causes people to self-correct. Explaining yourself emotionally often comes from a good place. It comes from honesty, openness, and a desire for connection. But without boundaries, it becomes self-exposure to people who may not be safe, mature, or invested enough to receive it. Respect is not built on how much you share. It is built on how well you manage what you share. It is built on how well you manage what you share and when. The woman who commands respect understands that clarity is a privilege, not an obligation. Emotional self-control also changes how you see yourself. When you stop over-explaining, you stop seeking permission for your feelings. You stop asking for agreement to justify your reactions. You begin to trust your own internal signals. That internal trust shows up externally as confidence. People feel it in your tone, they see it in your posture, they hear it in the way you speak less but say more. There is a reason calm people are taken seriously. Calm communicates authority. Calm suggests perspective. Calm implies strength beneath the surface. When emotions spill out unchecked, the focus shifts from the message to the emotion itself. When emotions are contained, the message becomes clearer, heavier, and harder to dismiss. Emotional self-control allows your presence to speak louder than your words. Many women are misled into thinking that being emotionally expressive will soften people into understanding them. In reality, excessive explanation often teaches others to minimize you. They learn that you will always return to the table to justify yourself even when you are wronged. Emotional self-control breaks that cycle. It introduces consequences without threats. Silence becomes information. Distance becomes feedback. Calm becomes a boundary. Choosing not to explain is not avoidance. It is discernment. It is recognizing when words will not change behavior. It is recognizing when respect must be demonstrated, not discussed. People who truly respect you do not require long emotional explanations to treat you well. People who do not respect you will not change simply because you explained yourself better. Emotional self-control also protects your dignity. There is dignity in not pleading to be understood. There is dignity in not chasing closure from people who benefit from your confusion. There is dignity in letting your absence answer questions your words never could. This dignity is felt immediately. It shifts how people remember you. It changes the narrative they carry about you. When you master emotional self-control, you stop reacting for relief and start responding with intention. You stop saying things just to release tension. You stop oversharing to feel momentarily connected. You begin choosing responses that serve your long-term self-respect. That choice compounds. Over time, people learn that interactions with you require mindfulness. They learn that you do not reward careless behavior with emotional labor. This behavior does not make you unkind. It makes you selective. It does not make you distant. It makes you centered. Emotional self-control allows warmth without weakness, openness without overexposure, strength without aggression. It is the balance that commands respect because it shows mastery over the one thing most people struggle to manage: their own emotions. The woman who practices emotional self-control is not harder to love. She is harder to misuse. She does not explain herself into exhaustion. She does not argue her worth. She does not negotiate basic respect. Her calm presence sets the tone before a single word is spoken. People sense the boundary even when it is never announced. Over time, this behavior reshapes relationships. Conversations become more intentional. Disrespect decreases because it is no longer entertained. People either rise to meet the standard or drift away without drama. Emotional self-control quietly filters your world, leaving behind interactions rooted in mutual regard rather than emotional dependency. This is why emotional self-control commands respect. It is not loud. It is not performative. It is not defensive. It is internal authority expressed through restraint. It is knowing that you do not owe access to everyone who asks, nor explanations to everyone who misunderstands. It is understanding that your emotions are valuable, and valuable things are handled with care. 2. Consistent boundaries without apology are one of the clearest signals of self-respect a woman can display. Not boundaries spoken once in an emotional moment, not boundaries delivered with anger, and not boundaries followed by guilt-filled explanations. Consistency is what gives boundaries weight. When your limits remain the same regardless of who is in front of you, people learn how to treat you without being reminded. Respect forms not because you warned them, but because you showed them. Many women set boundaries and then immediately soften them with apologies. They say no, then explain why. They pull back, then feel guilty. They create distance, then rush to reassure. This teaches others that boundaries are negotiable, temporary, and emotionally costly for you to maintain. An unapologetic boundary is not rude. It is clean, it does not attack, it does not justify, it simply exists. Consistency is what separates boundaries from moods. When your reactions change based on your emotions, people wait you out. When your boundaries stay the same regardless of pressure, people adjust. They realize there is no opening to push through. This realization does not come from confrontation. It comes from repetition. Calm repetition. Calm repetition. Quiet repetition. Unmoving repetition. Boundaries without apology communicate certainty. Certainty makes people pause. When you do not apologize for your standards, you imply that they are reasonable, non-negotiable, and rooted in self-respect. Apologies signal doubt. They suggest that you are unsure whether you deserve the space, time, or treatment you are asking for. Certainty removes that doubt from the interaction. An unapologetic boundary is not explained emotionally. It is stated simply or shown through behavior. You stop responding to disrespect. You leave conversations that drain you. You decline invitations that compromise your peace. You do not announce these decisions dramatically. You let them speak for themselves. Over time, people notice that your presence is conditional on mutual respect. Consistency also protects you from emotional burnout. When you constantly re-explain your boundaries, you are reliving the same emotional labor. When you hold them consistently, you conserve energy. You stop managing other people's reactions. You stop soothing discomfort that does not belong to you. This conservation of energy changes how you show up. You become calmer, more grounded, less reactive. People often test boundaries to see how serious they are, not because they are malicious, but because inconsistency invites testing. The first time you enforce a boundary, it may surprise others. The second time, it confuses them. The third time, it educates them. Consistency is what completes the lesson. Eventually, the testing stops because the outcome never changes. Unapologetic boundaries also redefine kindness. Kindness does not mean access. Kindness does not mean access. Kindness does not mean availability. Kindness does not mean self-sacrifice. True kindness includes honesty, and honesty includes limits. When you stop apologizing for your boundaries, you show others how to respect their own. Your behavior becomes permission for healthier interactions. Women are often conditioned to fear being seen as difficult, cold, or unkind. This fear leads to over-accommodation. Over-accommodation leads to resentment. Resentment erodes respect. Boundaries without apology break this cycle. They prevent resentment before it forms. They keep relationships clean. They eliminate the silent tally of emotional debts. When you enforce boundaries consistently, you stop needing validation for them. You no longer wait for others to agree that your limits are fair. You trust your judgment. That trust is visible. People sense when you are not looking for approval. This shifts the dynamic immediately. Conversations change. Expectations change. Behavior changes. Consistency also means you do not make exceptions that undermine your standards. Exceptions confuse people. They create hope where there should be clarity. When you say one thing and tolerate another, people follow your behavior, not your words. Unapologetic boundaries align words and actions. This alignment creates credibility. Credibility creates respect. Boundaries without apology are especially powerful because they remove emotional hooks. There is nothing to argue with, nothing to persuade, nothing to fix. The boundary is not delivered with frustration or justification. It is simply enforced. This forces others to take responsibility for their own reactions. They must decide whether to adapt or disengage. Over time, consistent boundaries reshape your identity in the eyes of others. You become known as someone who values themselves, someone who does not tolerate disrespect quietly, someone who is warm but not malleable. This reputation forms without announcements. It forms through patterns. Patterns are what people believe. Unapologetic boundaries also teach you patience. You learn to tolerate discomfort without undoing your decisions. You allow silence to exist. You allow distance to do its work. You resist the urge to over-communicate. This patience strengthens your emotional discipline. It makes your presence more composed, more stable, more commanding. When boundaries are consistent, they stop feeling like walls and start feeling like structure. They create safety. They create predictability. Healthy people appreciate this. Unhealthy people resist it. This natural sorting saves you time and emotional energy. You stop trying to make incompatible dynamics work. The most respected women are not the ones who explain their boundaries best. They are the ones who live by them. They do not argue their limits. They do not threaten consequences. They simply allow consequences to exist. This quiet firmness is felt immediately. It changes how people approach you. Consistent boundaries without apology are not about control. They are about self-leadership. They show that you are responsible for your well-being and that you take that responsibility seriously. This seriousness is magnetic. People respond to it instinctively. They sense that crossing your boundaries has real outcomes, even if those outcomes are never spoken. As this behavior becomes habitual, you stop feeling the need to prove your strength. You stop announcing your standards. You stop defending your choices. Your life becomes simpler. Interactions become cleaner. Respect becomes the default, not because you demanded it, but because your behavior made anything else feel out of place.